Music Manic.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. My name is Ethan Ahern, and I am here today for the 4th episode of Music Manic, the show where we talk about albums that we like and stuff. Normally, there's a special guest, but today is not the case. Sadly, I am the only one in the studio today. Basement Dweller is not with us. She's not feeling great at the moment. Send her your wishes and stuff, because she'll be back soon. Wish her a great recovery and stuff. So it's just me today, no special guest. I'm gonna see if I can try to make this as entertaining as possible, but we'll see. We're gonna be talking about the 2012 debut album from experimental hip hop trio Death Grips, The Money Store. Who are Death Grips? Well, I'll tell you who Death Grips are. No, it's not the grip that you do whenever you. I'm not gonna finish that sentence. But Death Grips are a hip-hop trio from Sacramento, California. They first appeared to the scene in the early 2010s, and the trio consists of Andy Morin, who is a producer, Zach Hill, who is a drummer and also a producer. He's been in some math rock bands in the past and even has his own solo project. And finally, the one and only Stephen Burnett, also known as MC Rye, doing vocals. He's quite the guy, honestly. If you pull up a picture, he's quite the guy. So they've been around since 2010, and they have been constantly changing the game when it comes to experimental hip hop. They bring the most abrasive, loud, schizo-sounding vocals ever on a rap project, while also somehow containing some of the catchiest hooks in the genre. So in 2011, they released their debut mixtape, Ex-Military, which if you've not listened to, I highly recommend. Granted, it's very loud, very experimental, but if you trudge through the samples and the loud, manic homeless man screaming, you're in for a treat, considering there are some really great tracks here, such as Guillotine and Tachyon. This record, however, again, debut, this is their first album from their record label, Epic, which is owned by Sony. How did they get a record deal with Sony? I have no clue, but alas, here we are. 2012, The Money Store. I have an experience with this album, honestly. It's quite the trip. So I've been familiar with the music YouTuber scene for a good few years now, and I've heard of Death Grips here and there, but I never bothered to give them a chance, considering their reputation and the fan base consisting of people that would piss in the pit during their concerts as well as wear propeller hats. But last year in November, I gave their first album a chance, and I didn't really care for it, honestly. I thought it was too much, honestly. I knew for a fact that it was gonna be experimental, but I just I was not getting into it at all. It was just too much for me. Not to mention the pacing for this album is so freaking fast that you just can't process it. It's like a manic episode. But I a month later gave it another chance, and somehow it clicked. I kept re-listening to it over and over and over again. I gave my ears to the other albums, which are also equally as great. So technically, I guess now I am considered to be a Death Grips aficionado, or whatever you say. But why The Money Store? Well, I thought I'd pick The Money Store because it's their most popular album. I feel like it's the most recognizable. You've probably seen the cover art in music discussions at some point, which, by the way, very interesting cover art. I don't know if I can really get into the context of the cover art. I mean, yeah, it's a very crude but realistic drawing, and it's apparently traced. Well, not traced, but it's apparently inspired by this one picture from 2007 of a certain group of people that I cannot probably say. You can find the picture on your own spare time, but yeah, the cover art, I'll just say this, it fits the whole tone of that record. What do I mean by that? Well, we'll start with of course the first Death Grip song I've ever listened to, Get Got. It's a track. It's an opener. It definitely establishes the tone of the record like immediately. Like as soon as like you hear the first like drum beat, like it's over. It's honestly over. Basically, it's a song about a man played by MC Ride, obviously, who is just full of primal rage. So he gets up, gets drunk, and robs a store, and it ends up with him getting shot and killed by police. And what if I tell you that this is like probably the calmest sounding track on the album? I know with a description like that, you'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But, yeah. The reason why I say that though is because, unlike like later tracks, Ride's performance is like consistently like kind of like calm and like low pitch compared to the screaming that we're gonna be hearing later. And when I first listened to the album, I thought, oh, this is probably gonna be like the whole album basically, this kind of like style, or this kind of like vocal delivery, and I was up for it. But then the second track hit, but we'll get to that. One interesting thing about this song that I really love is that the synopsis that I just gave you, it's told in a reverse order. So basically, we start out with Ride getting killed by the police, then we get to robbing the store, then he gets up. It's all in reverse, and honestly, it makes the track way more interesting than I feel like you can get from like face value. But yeah, I just think it's like a lot more interesting when it's like told this way, considering, you know, like if it were told like if it were like told in like a straight like forward manner, yeah, it'd still be interesting. But the fact that it's in reverse, it gives you like some like ambiguity about like how all of this led up to his death. The song itself, it's talking about pretty much everything from mental illness to drug abuse to Ride's like DID, his dissociative identity crisis. And again, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's the calmest sounding track, but it's going through all of this like violence and this like horror shit. Well, not horror, but like it's very dark, and it doesn't help that the song has like this cyberpunk like feel to it, and the music video attached to it fits this description like perfectly. Considering if you've seen the music video, it's basically Ride being in, I'm assuming, like a foreign country. I don't want to say like Japan or something, but like the video quality, it's terrible. It's like 360p. I think it was recorded on like a very old like film camera or something. And there's like streaks of lightning that just kind of pop up, and it's purple, and it fits. And it doesn't help that the cyberpunk sound in question is from a sample from like ringtones from the Sahara Desert. I'm not joking either. Like I don't know how you find samples like this, but basically they took a snippet of a Sahara ringtone and they just made that the whole song. And honestly, it fits the whole like I wouldn't say disturbing, but the whole like schizophrenic tone of the track. And it's funny I say schizophrenic because the next track, The Fever, is it's pretty much about schizophrenia. Ride's vocals in The Fever are his most manic. This is when I like started to kind of like detour myself away from like me properly digesting this album on a first listen, because the screaming and like his performance is so like in your face. It's not even funny. Like you barely have any time to breathe, and the production doesn't help either. Cause the production I might as well just say this right now. The production for the whole album is like insane for 2012. It's 13 years old now, and still to this day, it still like sounds extremely futuristic and like mind altering, if that makes sense. But anyway, about the whole schizophrenia thing, the song is basically about someone who is addicted to crystal meth, who also likes to murder people and kind of get into episodes with his personal demons, and he also possibly has voices in his head, hence the schizophrenia narrative. Of course, the lyrics are very in your face. It goes into like explicit detail about like what Ride is doing. You know, he's like killing people, slitting their throats, getting the diamonds. That's a metaphor for crystal meth, obviously. It's insane. Like I know I keep saying that a lot, but like it's honestly like demented in a way where like you kind of like you want to get away from it because of how off-putting it is, but it's so like interesting to where like you kind of feel invested if you can like deal with the with the weird production and the manic as hell performance from Ride. But yeah, the fever. It definitely feels like you're getting a fever, honestly, because of how insane this is. But the whole like talk about how like he's like killing people, yeah, that's not gonna be like a one and done. No, that's pretty much what a good majority of the songs are about, kinda. Lost Boys is the next track. This song is basically about being an outlaw. I feel like most people know what an outlaw is, but yeah, let's just say if you're an outlaw, you're doing bad things. Very, very bad things. I know I keep going back to like what my first listen like was like, but like for this song in particular, I was like, I became like extremely tired afterwards, and that's kind of shocking for me to say considering this is the third track on the record. But I wrote in my notes, the electric synths are insane, the bass line is insane, and I just ended up saying the whole track is insane because, yeah, it's harsh. Extremely harsh, especially the synths in the beginning and the sample that they use. It's very, very loud. Which I should have mentioned. This is a loud album. This is an abrasive record. If you are not a like big fan of like industrial sounding music or like just loud sounds in general, do not listen to this album. You will probably not like it. But yeah. Here I have some lines that I want to read out because it perfectly describes the outlaw theming here. A job, might have to rob, and don't know just to get by word on the road for lifers? I don't remember. Bullets in the fire, check the chain links, Swaze, I'm slumming, let me know who the we are, low and dirty Lost Boys, coming out the cuts like your favorite scar. Yeah, these are not good people. Or I should say this is not about a good person. I mean, obviously, no shit, but... And not to mention the chorus. I should mention the chorus. It feels like you're descending into hell, basically, or like your mind has come so like numb to this to where like you just don't know what to do. Because Rye delivers his first line. It's such a long way down, and you get like Lost Boys, Lost Boys, Lost Boys, Lost Boys, kind of like swirling around you. Yeah, not the most family, or not the most family friendly. It's definitely not family friendly. Definitely not the most like, ear friendly, song that you could think of. Which I mean, hey, it fits honestly, because I mean, again, the song's about outlaws, but yeah, not good for the morning, honestly. And it's really funny I say that because, I re-listened to this album again this morning. Yeah, so 6:20 in the morning. I'm just hearing that, so it's great. Anyways, who likes blackjack? That's a great answer. No one does. Blackjack, the fourth track, is basically a song about comparing a game of blackjack to selling drugs. And honestly, it's such a genius way to convey the meaning, considering, you know, obviously blackjack is gambling. And once, you start gambling, you get addicted, and, drugs, same story. And this is when I'd say we have, like, the most haunting, like, production of the whole album, because, you have this, like, drum pattern that's, like, very, not very loud, but, like, very, it sounds like a heartbeat, basically. It's just, like, and you have like these distorted synths just kind of like creeping up, and then you have Rye just like inhaling into the mic before it abruptly cuts. It's insane. I need to stop saying insane. Yeah, but like the lack of like actual drumming and the inhales, it just adds to like the whole aesthetic of the song, and how, like, for lack of a better term again, schizo this album basically is. And not to mention, there are like certain effects that the group uses for like Ride's vocals, to where like he's kind of like fading in and out, but like in an abrupt way, if that kind of makes sense. Like he's doing a verse, and it's just like it kind of sounds like it's like fading in reverse, kind of. It's hard to describe unless if you like actually go out and listen to the record, which, spoilers, you should. But yeah, it's not the most like, what's the word I'm looking for? Normal track on the album. It sounds like you're having a nightmare, honestly, and it doesn't help considering we're talking about selling drugs. How we're all addicted to them and how blackjack's addicting and stuff. I've never gambled, so I can't say for otherwise, but I mean, it's probably relatable to someone. Hustle Bones. This track, okay, this might be my personal favorite track on the album because like it starts up with like I want to say like a motorcycle revving up or something before it's just like abruptly cutting to Ride doing his like give a what you heard about it's that with like the most distorted synths I think I've ever heard. It exactly sounds like the equivalent of like you being punched in the face. It's that like abrasive. It's not even funny. The industrial influence is like completely taken forward here. Like it's, if anything, it sounds more like a 9 Inch Nails track, if anything. More or less something that you would hear in like the Downward Spiral. Like one thing that reminds me of is like something like Eraser, I guess, if you've heard of that song. I kind of have like that kind of feeling with how like abrasive it is. Now, granted, Hustle Bones is more poppy, I guess, if that's the right word to describe it, compared to most of the other tracks. Especially during the chorus, we have this sample. I don't know where the sample came from. They like to pull out a bunch of like random samples from like other countries or movies or whatever. So I couldn't find the sample, but it's very like I don't know if I want to say upbeat, but it's very like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna say it's more upbeat compared to like the rest of the song, where again it's just like boom, boom. But that's my attempt at synths. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but the drumming by Zach Hill, that's it's very primal, and I hate to say it, but it's definitely not the most primal I think he's ever drummed in one of their albums. Because even though we're not talking about it today, the next record from Death Grips, No Love Deep Web, which I can't show the cover art to for obvious reasons, is exactly like what like You Being Insane would sound like, honestly, when it comes to drums. Especially if you like look up their live performances, it is nuts, which kind of makes me hate myself for not going to one of their live shows, considering I was just a dumb kid when they were at their their height of popularity. But whatever. Now, after such a loud, abrasive episode like that, we get to what I think is like their most popular song altogether, I Seen Footage. This is debatably one of Death Grip's most accessible tracks. Not by much, though. The only reason why I say this is because this is the song where like we have a very like catchy hook and a simple like beat and chorus. But the song is still, about like you seeing a bunch of like messed up shit in your lifetime, whether like it be in real life or on the internet, whatever, and you just being desensitized to it. It goes into like some explicit detail about like how like you watch videos about like people getting executed and like police brutality and stuff, but you see it in real life, you're like, eh. It's very messed up, and honestly, if anything, it's very sad. I also want to say that like even though I say that this is the most accessible, it still sounds manic as shit. The production, especially during like the hook and refrain, is like it's nuts. Like you guys gotta have to listen to the whole album to like really like experience like what I'm talking about, because words cannot describe how like not future. Well, okay, it does sound futuristic, but how like for again like for lack of a better term, manic this is. And it doesn't help that there's like one, it's in the refrain I think, where Wright's saying like it's some crazy shit, and you just hear like a over and over again during the beat. It's oh my god, it's horrifying. In a good way, obviously, but Jesus Christ. Now, thankfully, Double Helix is kind of inverse of I Seen Footage in terms of like, okay, so I Seen Footage is the most accessible. Now we're getting weird. Unlike the other tracks where like they were mostly about like, like murder and drugs and gambling and or not gambling. Well, I guess gambling, yeah, or like death again, Death Grips. This song is basically, for lack of a better term, or not term, but like phrase, this song is about them bragging, basically. Bragging about how how advanced they are, how like smart they are, and if you like shit on them, you suck, basically. I mean, honestly, for like an album like this, I'm not surprised that like it took a bit of a detour, because this album's been taking like detours over the course of the whole like, what is it, like 15 minutes that we've been listening to the record so far. So I guess the fact that like it's not like constantly in your face about like slitting throats or whatever, and instead just talking about just like, oh, this is how good we are, this is like gonna be our mark, like it's refreshing. Though I mean, it also doesn't help that like it's still as cryptic as ever, and not to mention the opening of the song where Riot's going, so you know, double double, like it, and you get like the sample, like it's I don't know. it's okay. Do you guys notice like how like I don't really have the words to describe it, like, because that's honestly like how I really feel about this album. Like it's just like it's one of those like albums where like once you listen to it, you just don't really have like the proper words to describe it. It's like it's a piece of art that you probably just like will have to like have to let it stick with you for the rest of your life or something, because it's just like it's one of those where like there's nothing else quite like it. They're the only group that I'm aware of, at least, that are willing to like make the most like mind numbing but also like I don't know. All I'm saying, these guys are weird. There's one there's one part of the song that I want to like briefly mention. It happens near the end of the song. For the most part, there's this one consistent sample that's playing over and over again. It sounds normal, but then for like 5 seconds, it starts like, I don't want to say playing in reverse, but like it starts like sounding very distorted, and it honestly sounds like something that like I would hear in like, I don't know, Egyptian times. Does that make sense? Like I don't know. It's weird. It's not as weird as the next track, System Blower, which honestly might be the loudest song on the album, and there's competition, don't worry, but I mean, this is when I'd say, like, for the most part, they're at their most like abrasive. And I know I think I mentioned that earlier, but like I really mean it. They start sampling some of the weirdest things I think I've ever heard on a hip hop record. They sample a freaking Serena Williams tennis match and a train from Vancouver as part of their beat, and it fits, honestly, but oh my god. The song, and lyrics-wise, the song is basically about, killing, but the lyrics aren't really the main focus. It's just the music itself. It's so in your face, and it's so like it's constantly doing one thing after another, and it never has time to breathe. But it works because of how just like and I know I keep saying this a lot, of how schizo this whole like album is, and this track is like a good definition for that. It's also, in fact, probably one of like the loudest songs I think I've ever heard personally. Like if you have a good pair of headphones, this could probably like destroy your speakers. Don't listen to this song if like you have bass. You will like die. Your system will be blown. Up next is The Cage. I really have nothing much to say. This song is basically about the inner conflicts of the city, or at least Ride's inner conflicts with the city. I, as a normal guy, who is still taking high school classes, I don't really have like much to like really like comment about. I just think as a whole, this song is pretty catchy. It still has the bit of like the paranoia, like the paranoia and the violent themes that like all like not all, but like most of these tracks have followed. Basically, it's like just saying, hey, I live in the city. This is basically a cage. And it also helps that like for at least the first verse of the track, you can also interpret it as like how social norms and the like the taboo of drugs could like represent certain limitations imposed by society, as it's seen by everyone. And I'm not sure if like that's exactly what they were going like for here, but I mean, with how the themes have been kind of like in your face. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like just like trying to criticize like our importance of money or like how we view drugs and stuff. Personally, I think drugs are pretty bad, but you do you. Punk Wait. They brought back the Sahara cell phone ringtones from Get Got. That's like pretty much the whole first like 45 seconds, I think, if I remember correctly. It loops, then it like then like the pitch lowers down a bit. You start getting the drums, and all of a sudden, all of that gets destroyed by some of the loudest like bass and synths that I've heard ever. That's why I was saying like we may have some competition here with System Blower, because this track is also very loud. And I should also mention, obviously they sampled Sahara cell phone ringtones. It's all in a different language, and I have it translated for you. And the lyrics that you hear for like the first 45, 50 seconds translate to, "Oh, Nari, whose signs manifested, animal sacrifices held on his door. Oh, my masters, it releases horrors." And it doesn't help that basically the rest of the song, when it's not in that different language, is basically just kind of like an ode to like the punk lifestyle and trying to like process violence and stuff. My point gets proven even more when we start hearing laughing. We start hearing like high-pitched laughing during near like the end of the song, and it really adds to like how I want to say lost. I want to say, like, it feels like we're going into like someone's dark, twisted mind, as what my producer says right now. You can't hear her, but she's there. Don't worry. It's nuts. Definitely the punkest song on the album. Haha, get it? 'Cause it's Punk Wait. All right. We're almost done here. 3 tracks left. Next is That. This is my least favorite of the album, honestly. Not that it's a bad track or anything. I still think it's fairly solid, but I feel like this track in particular is more basic than any of the other tracks. Like, there's not really much experimentation here that the other tracks have already done before, so thus it feels very kind of like one note. It could have honestly been like a throwaway track, honestly. That's kind of how like uninteresting it is, which is weird for me to say considering the lyrics are like the most violent of all the tracks so far, as it's constantly like going in depth about like grinding heads off saws and like slitting throats and stuff. It's not a very nice like song lyrically, but that's the point. Like it's trying to like, this whole album's trying to disturb you and trying to make you feel unnerved, and it's working because the amount of detail that these lyrics have on face value may seem kind of like not funny, but like not in your face. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Deranged. But anyway, yeah. It's basically talking about grinding heads and like cutting throats and stuff. It's very deranged. But compared to like most of the other tracks, it's like production wise, it's fairly basic. Which I can't say about the next song, Please. Also one of my personal favorites. Kind of like Double Helix from earlier. This song's basically like just like MC Ride shitting on everyone who doubts him and his talent, which is really funny considering this is like, okay, for a little backstory, Ride has been trying to be in like the hip hop scene for like, well, prior to this record was trying to be in the hip hop scene since like the late 90s. He was in a hip hop group. I forgot the name. You can find like videos somewhere online. But it didn't go out well, and he kind of like disappeared off the face of the planet for a bit until he met Zach Hill, which were neighbors, and thus Death Grips are born. Though honestly, with such a like a lack of like with such a gap in like creative time since like his last group like failed, you could tell that like he has a style, and it's a very like abrasive, but also very consistent and like interesting style that I feel like is the most like unique out of the experimental hip hop scene. And it's also, this track is also a bit of like a social commentary just how trashy Death Grips are. Because I mean, if you know what they sound like, they are not the most polished group ever. Their definition of like punk, I guess, or at least modern day punk, I would say. They're very like rough around the edges. They're very like in your face. They are the most like berserk in the music scene, or at least the hip hop scene so far. Not saying that there are others that are like extremely like berserk, but for them it's like this is so out of like the normal like music scene that like what are you gonna do about it, you know? And I think as a whole, this track is probably one of the most catchiest, honestly. And speaking of leaving a mark and like trying to put yourself on the world, we have the final song, Hacker, or as I like to call it, the best song on the album. This is a 5-minute epic of a finale, where it's basically Ride and the other Death Grips crew name dropping a bunch of like popular brands and celebrities that were relevant at the time of the release, and basically like saying, oh, they can leave a mark, but we can't, so we're gonna leave a mark anyway, if that makes sense. So basically, you can never escape them, and it's so like energetic that like if I had to like say anything about it, it's that for the last track on an album like this, it's the most thematically appropriate, because what I'm looking for like in a finale for an album, especially if it's as experimental as this, is that it ends off with a bang. And this is an extremely like cyberpunk heavy, synth heavy, insane track that's basically just a big middle finger to everyone, including the listener. Because it's basically them saying, we're going to leave our mark. You can't escape them. We're going to be on the Billboard charts. We don't care. You're going to have to live with it. In fact, I think he knows the first 3 numbers. That's one of the lyrics of the song. And thus, after that, we just abruptly cut, and thus, the money store is closed. That was very corny. I'm very sorry. So if you couldn't already tell by like my rambling, I really, really love this album. Yes, during my first listen, again, I did not get it, but on after a bunch of re-listens, I finally get it, and I understand why Death Grips became the most like popular of internet music, if that makes sense, because they were big in like on like Reddit and 4chan, a bunch of like music forum sites, like Anthony Fantano, if you know him, gave this album a 10. That became popular, so it gave them more eyes. Yeah, this record, while definitely not for everyone, will definitely leave a mark on you if you bother to give it a chance. It's loud, it's abrasive, it's punk, it's industrial. It's a piece of music that once you get it in your system, it's probably never gonna come out. Which is why, even though I'm probably like not 100% sure on this, is why I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. It's not going to be like the greatest hip-hop album of all time, but it's an important one. And the fact that it came out in 2012 is very impressive, considering even today, it still sounds as futuristic as ever. And if you do like Death Grips, I do have a couple of recommendations I would give to you. For one, the rest of their discography, I mean, they're all of their albums are consistently good. No Love Deep Web, despite the very terrible cover art, is way more raw and in your face if you're like into more electronic sounding music. Government Place is funny because it has Robert Pattinson playing guitar on one of the tracks. The Powers That Be, a great double album. With the first disc being filled with Björk samples and the second being probably the darkest they've ever been. Bottomless Pit, technically a spiritual successor to The Money Store, but it does its own thing to where like I feel like it can stand out on its own. And their latest record from 2018, Year of the Snitch, probably their most like jazz influenced record, and while honestly not saying it's like the best of their discography, is very unique. That's pretty much the word I can describe Death Grips. It's unique. But other artists, I recommend JPEG Mafia. His whole like discography. It's not as loud or abrasive, but it definitely has that kind of like vibe to it. Especially his second record, Veteran. Danny Brown stuff, Atrocity Expedition. That's exactly kind of like what the experimental hip hop scene's defined by. Just that album. Some industrial stuff too. Clipping. I love Clipping. You should listen to Clipping. Their horrorcore albums are phenomenal. Plus they're self-titled and their concept albums. 9 Inch Nails. That's what I got. I mentioned them earlier, but like Downward Spiral. That's what I got out of this record, kinda. There's a bunch of other like artists and like bands I haven't like thought of yet. Deleek. That's like 2002. Prototype Death Grips, technically, though also not at the same time. That's like pretty much the textbook definition of what I guess Death Grips would like be inspired by. From Filthy Tongue of Gods and Griots. That's a fantastic album if you haven't listened to it. Bunch of other ones. I don't know, but basically, go listen to this album. I recommend it. That's all I really have. I would like to thank my special guest who is not here with me, because it's just me. If you guys want any like suggestions, or if you guys want to leave some like potential album recommendations for the show, feel free to let me know on either Instagram or on the YouTube comments section. Why did I say on the YouTube comment section? In the YouTube comment section. I've been Ethan Ahern. Stay anointed, and I'll see you guys next week, where hopefully Basement Dweller will get better. Again, wish her the best of luck on her sweet recovery. Goodbye.